primarily was enacted to protect the tenants as a whole, because after the World War II, there was a influx of the persons coming from maybe Pakistan or other places to the cities, and scarcity of accommodation kept the sword hanging on their head that they can be evicted at any time. To protect this class of persons, the legislation was brought in 1948. Now, sometime afterwards, even the Supreme Court expressed that this legislation is too old and requires a modification, especially in the areas of rent. And there are some tenants who are enjoying the tenancy at a rent of rupees 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 100 rupees. In a premium places like Port or in Pune, we can call it as a Budwarpet, Shukrwarpet, Gurwarpet. So in order to change this, because the statement was made by the Council for Maharashtra that we are bringing the legislation, and accordingly the new legislation is brought on 31/3/2000, which we call as the Maharashtra Rent Control Act. Now under the Maharashtra Rent Control Act, there is a permission to increase the rent if there are any additions, alterations, amenities, and also annual increase in the rent. So this is a new development which has been done in the Act of 2000, and permitted increases are also to be paid by the tenant. Now I will be shifting to another area where the courts have changed the view. During the period from maybe 76 to 87 or onwards, the courts were highly in favor of tenants and protecting the tenants against the eviction. The tenants were given this protection as per the old concept of protecting this class of the person. But after 1987, there is a line of cases, I will give the judgment citation, wherein the Supreme Court also thought that there should be a shift, there should be a balancing. You cannot use this legislation to protect the persons who are getting the benefits, but they are not equally contributing or paying to the landlords. So fate of the landlord was also required to be considered, and accordingly Supreme Court has changed the angle, and that happened, I will give the citation, in cases where the legislation, that is a maybe it may be beginning from the case of Atmaram, that is correct. Atmaram versus Federal Motors 2005 1 SCC 705. Now this has got a history why this shift has taken place and why this how this has taken place. The first case of a Damadilal, काय होतं, मी काल परवा सांगितलं होतं की tenant holding over, a tenant whose tenancy, contractual tenancy has come to an end, but who continues to remain in possession of the tenanted premises. He is called the tenant holding over, or we call it as a tenant who is statutorily protected. So he continues and remains as a tenant because of the legislation, this Bombay Rent Act and now the Maharashtra Rent Control. So he continues to enjoy the benefits of occupation. Now, under the English law, the concept of statutory tenant is quite different. There, the statutory tenant does not get inheritance. After the statutory tenant dies, his heirs does not get any right. And contractually, जर तुम्ही टेनन्सी टर्मिनेट केली असेल, ट्रान्सफर ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी ऍक्ट मध्ये लीज राईट टर्मिनेट केलं, तर लेसी डझंट रिमेन अ लेसी until he is evicted. He is only protected from eviction. So this situation of a statutory tenant was very much in existence in English law, which we have taken or copied. But under the Indian law, there is a shift because of this legislation. And under the Indian law, in Damadilal's case, I will give the judgment. This is a pioneering judgment of 1976. 4 SCC 855. याच्यामध्ये दोन भाऊ किंवा दोन लोक टेनंट होते. त्यांची कॉन्ट्रॅक्च्युअल टेनन्सी संपली आणि किंवा टर्मिनेट केली. ती टर्मिनेट केल्यानंतर त्यांचं स्टॅटस काय होतं, काय राहतं, तर त्यांचं स्टॅटस राहतं स्टॅट्युटरी टेनंट. म्हणजे who will continue to remain in possession, but who will become a tenant of a class who is called as a statutory. Because of the law, they are protected. Otherwise, त्यांचं eviction is certain. कारण 106 ट्रान्सफर ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी ऍक्ट असा आहे की वन्स द टेनन्स राइट्स आर टर्मिनेटेड or his period of tenancy has expired, he has no right to live in the premises. He becomes a tenant holding over, or he can be called as a trespasser subsequently. Now, in this judgment of Damadilal, this concept of a English law was not accepted by us, that statutory tenancy is not inheritable. Indian courts held that in this case that statutory tenants are entitled to pass on their rights of a tenant to the heirs. म्हणजे इनहेरिटेबल केलं, आणि इनहेरिटेबल केल्यामुळं त्या केसमध्ये ती अपील त्यांना त्यांच्या वारसांना मूळ टेनंटच्या कंटिन्यू किंवा कॉन्टेस्ट करता आली, असा हा व्ह्यू होता. आणि दामादीलाल साठी त्यांनी आधीची जी केस आहे ती सुद्धा फेमस होती, आनंद निवास वर्सेस आनंदजी कल्याणजी, 1965 सुप्रीम कोर्ट, म्हणजे AIR 1965 सुप्रीम कोर्ट 414. ह्या सगळ्या जजमेंटचा उल्लेख त्या केसमध्ये आहे. आता मी आय विल नॉट इन्क्रीज द जजमेंट, कारण ते तुम्हाला जजमेंट खूप होतील, पण हा सर्व दृष्टिकोन इज चेंज्ड in the year 2005 in Atmaram Properties case. आणि त्याच्यामध्ये दामादीलांचाच व्ह्यू चेंज करायला पाहिजे ओव्हर अ पॅसेज ऑफ टाइम. म्हणजे लॉ कसा चेंज होतो आणि केस लॉ कसा चेंज होतो ते बघा. पहिलं पर्स्पेक्टिव्ह होतं की टेनंटला प्रोटेक्शन मिळायला पाहिजे, टेनंटची राईट सर्व्हाइव्ह व्हायला पाहिजे. नाव आफ्टर अ पिरियड ऑफ से दामादीलाल 76 ते 2005 बराच वेळ गेलाय आणि कोर्टाचं असं मत झालं की आता अकॉमोडेशन अवेलेबल आहे, आता टेनंटला तुम्ही ओव्हर प्रोटेक्ट करण्याची गरज नाही, आणि म्हणून ते इनहेरिटेबल नाही इथपर्यंत कोर्टाने जजमेंट या केसमध्ये दिलेलं आहे आत्मारामचं. आणि इन इफेक्ट काय झालं, आता याचा परिणाम कुठं होतो तो महत्वाचा आहे. जेव्हा एखादा टेनंटच्या विरुद्ध इविक्शन डिक्री होते, मी 2-3 ग्राउंड सांगितलेली आहेत, बाकीचे ग्राउंड आय विल बी टेलिंग यू. समजा बोनाफाईड रिक्वायरमेंट खाली इविक्शन डिक्री झाली, किंवा त्यांनी परमनंट कन्स्ट्रक्शन केले म्हणून इविक्शन डिक्री झाली. डिक्री झाल्यानंतर तो जेव्हा अपील करतो, तर अपिलामध्ये त्याचं स्टॅटस हा स्टॅट्युटरी टेनंट राहतं, आणि स्टॅट्युटरी टेनंट असेल म्हणजेच त्याला केवळ प्रोटेक्शन स्टॅट्यूटमुळे मिळते, टेनन्सी राईट त्याचे कॉन्ट्रॅक्च्युअल संपलेले आहे. नाउ ही इज लायबल टू पे द कॉम्पेन्सेशन. म्हणजे मार्केट रेट प्रमाणे टेनंटनी भाडं द्यायला पाहिजे इथपर्यंत कोर्ट ऑर्डर पास करतात. जे टेनंट आत्ताची प्रिव्हेलिंग आहे, समजा आता माझं लक्ष्मी रोडला दुकान आहे आणि 4000 भाड्यांनी मी घेतलं होतं 1950-52 साली, आणि माझ्या विरुद्ध या कुठल्याही ग्राउंड विरुद्ध डिक्री झाली, आणि त्या डिक्री विरुद्ध इव्हिक्शनच्या डिक्री विरुद्ध मी अपील करत असेल तर अपील कोर्टामध्ये लँडलॉर्ड ऑर्डर घेऊ शकतो की यांनी कॉम्पेन्सेशन द्यावं आत्ताच्या मार्केट रेट प्रमाणे, म्हणजे आत्ताच प्रिव्हेलिंग रेंटचा किंवा रिटर्न टू द लँडलॉर्डचा काढून त्याच्यावर द्यावं. म्हणजे ते समजा 50, 30,000, 40,000 येईल आणि लमसम अमाऊंट कोर्टात डिपॉझिट करावे सांगू शकतो. So from the day when the decree of eviction is passed, the court can pass an order that the tenant who wants to continue with the appeal shall deposit the rent which is called as a compensation or a main profit in the court. आता एक प्रश्न आणखी पडतो की जर समजा मी पैसे भरले टेनंट, भले मी 40,000 50,000 वर्षाला भरले, आता उद्या जर मी जिंकलो आणि बोनाफाईड रिक्वायरमेंट लँडलॉर्डची नाही असं जजमेंट आलं किंवा मी परमनंट कन्स्ट्रक्शन केलंच नाही असं जजमेंट आलं, तर मी भरलेल्या पैशाचं काय किंवा माझं रेंट हे जे काय मेन प्रॉफिट किंवा कॉम्पेन्सेशन वाढवले त्याचं काय होणार? तर त्याचं उत्तरही आत्माराम मध्ये या केसमध्ये दिलेलं आहे. द कोर्ट सेज दॅट you will keep that amount deposit and pay out of that amount only some amount to the landlord till the appeal is decided. So tenant continues to enjoy the property, landlord continues to have security की बाबा उद्या जर मी eviction माझी डिक्री कन्फर्म झाली तर मला मार्केट रेट प्रमाणे भाडं मिळणार. So this is a very important additional ground in the favor of a landlord. कारण मी तुम्हाला त्या ग्राउंड मध्ये नेणार आहे. पूर्वी जी सेक्शन 13 खाली होती बॉम्बे रेंट ऍक्टची, त्यातले महत्वाचे ग्राउंड त्यातनं काढून टाकलेली आहेत. मी काल सांगितलं तुम्हाला डिफॉल्टचे ग्राउंड डायल्यूट केले. जे डिफॉल्ट असताना तर पूर्वी डिफॉल्ट खाली डिक्री मिळायच्या इव्हिक्शनच्या, पण आता डिफॉल्टचे ग्राउंड तेवढं स्ट्रॉंग राहिलं नाही. आता काय तुम्हाला 90 दिवसाची नोटीस द्यावी लागते. यू हॅव टू गिव्ह 90 days नोटीस डिमांडिंग द रेंट, and if he pays the rent along with 15% interest all areas, then he will be protected. No decree for eviction will be passed. आता याच्यात थोडं डायव्हर्जन करतो मी, सेम टॉपिक असल्यामुळे. Now in this case, if I give a notice demanding a rent at a rupees say 2,500 and I say that arrears are for 2 years and accordingly I calculate the arrears of 2 years, say 30,000 रुपयाचे 60,000 मागितले. Now this notice I have given of 3 months. Now the tenant sends me the check of 40,000 or say let us say 60,000. Then tenant does not send me or pay me the amount of interest at the rate of 15%. Whether I am entitled for a decree for possession? The answer is yes. I am entitled for decree for possession because I am entitled, once there is a default, to get the rent in entirety. आता मी मगाशी मुद्दाम 40,000 सुद्धा उल्लेख केला. त्याच्यामध्ये टेनंटने जर डिस्प्यूट केला की माझं रेंट 2,500 नव्हतंच, I was not paying 2,500, my rent was 2,000 and your notice itself is wrong. You have given me a notice of 2,500, that is itself is a wrong. Then what happens? Whether the defect in the notice forfeits or can be said a denial to me the decree for eviction on the ground of default. The answer is no, because incorrect or defective notice is held by the court, because there were earlier opinion that notice must be of a perfect amount, but that opinion has now been changed and that notice can be of a payment of rent, maybe a mistaken calculation. एक प्रिन्सिपल ऑफ लॉ लक्षात घ्या की डेटर हॅज टू फाइंड द क्रेडिटर. Debtor has to keep in mind what the date, because the tenant is a debtor. He can pay the amount as per his own calculation and interest. But if he doesn't pay or he pays a less amount without interest, 2000 समजा धरला, let us assume that his case is of 2000 rupees per month. Then he sends me only 40,000. That is also wrong. He will have to send me 40,000 plus 15% interest. So that is an important, because these are the niceties which lawyers must remember when a decree for eviction is sought against the tenant. So now turning to the point that the eviction decree is passed and eviction decree is appealed against, then appellate court can ask you to deposit the entire amount of the arrears and at the rate which is mean profit or a compensation, not the rate which is a rent. We can produce the ready reckoner, the market rate, the returns or valuer's report. So this now is an additional ground to the. Now turning to the other grounds, मी दोन grounds परवा बघितले होते. One ground was that was a permanent construction, if I am not mistaken, and the second ground was nuisance annoyance. Now permanent construction मध्ये एक दोन जजमेंट देतो that you can note down. 2010 7 महाराष्ट्र जर्नल 719. आणि दुसरं एक आहे 2018 5 महाराष्ट्र जर्नल 955. मी एका जजमेंटच्या फॅक्ट सांगतो, अदर जजमेंट यू विल फाइंड आउट. नंतरचे जे जजमेंट आहे 2018चं रवींद्र अधिकार, ऍक्च्युअली इट मे बी अधिकारी वर्सेस रवी किशोर. याच्यामध्ये काय झालं, त्यांनी बिझनेस प्रिमायसेस होते आणि कापडाचा व्यापारी होता. ही वॉन्टेड फॉर हिज बिझनेस a more space, therefore he erected a mezzanine floor to store the additional cloth material. Now construction of mezzanine floor, because you will have to now simultaneously study the municipal laws and building rules and regulation, whether a mezzanine floor is a construction, number 2. And second, whether the construction requires a permission, such construction requires the permission of the corporation. If we find out this, in this case it was found out and held that it required a permission of the corporation. Mezzanine floor is calculated in a floor space index. So it required a permission of the corporation. The tenant in this case did not obtain any permission from corporation, and therefore it was held to be a permanent construction without permission, and the tenant was liable to be evicted. The decree of eviction was passed. मी permanent construction वर थोडासा एक आणखी I will throw some light. परमनंट कंस्ट्रक्शन हा जो कन्सेप्ट आहे, मी काल परवा बोललो तो कालच, की दॅट रिक्वायर्स लिटिल डेलिब्रेशन. परमनंट कंस्ट्रक्शन म्हणून चालत नाही. यू विल हॅव टू लीड एव्हिडन्स, बर्डन इज अपॉन यू, म्हणजे ऑन अ लँडलॉर्ड. कारण प्रत्येक कंस्ट्रक्शन परमनंट होत नाही. some constructions may appear to be permanent but they are of a temporary nature. मग याचे जे पॅरामीटर्स आहेत ते एका जजमेंट मध्ये दिलेले आहेत. ते 5 पॅरामीटर्स आहेत. इफ यू विश यू कॅन टेक डाऊन, आणि जजमेंटही सांगतो. AR 1987, सुप्रीम कोर्ट 1939. That is a Venkatlal Pitti judgment. You can call it versus Bright Brothers. काय काय पॅरामीटर्स आहेत? परमनंट कन्स्ट्रक्शन आहे की नाही बघण्याचे. व्हॉट आर द टेस्ट to see that whether it is a permanent construction. One is intention of the party who makes a permanent construction, whether he wants to change it permanently, to have that structure permanently erected in the premises let out to him. Number 2, what is the mode or degree of annexation to the original structure? म्हणजे mezzanine floor cannot be erected unless you pierce the walls both sides and raise a platform, maybe by iron girders or the like material. So what is the mode and what is the size of annexation? Thirdly, test is whether the structure can be removed easily without damaging the original structure. So that is important criteria. Then you can add a removability of the structure. Easily shifted, म्हणजे shifting. पार्टिशन केलेला आहे पण पार्टिशन शिफ्ट होतं, पार्टिशन हलवता येतं. That may not amount to permanent structure. Then there is another structure is a purpose for which the construction or this additional permanent structure is intended to be used. And lastly, the nature or a material. Lastly नाही, सेकंड लास्ट. नेचर काय आहे कन्स्ट्रक्शनचं आणि मटेरियल काय यूज केलंय. इज अ मटेरियल विच इज ऑफ अ परमनंट नेचर यूज केलंय का. आणि लास्टली, सी द ड्युरेबिलिटी ऑफ द स्ट्रक्चर. इफ इट इज अ परमनंट इन नेचर म्हणजे इट इज अ ड्युरेबल, ते वेअर आउट किंवा ते टिअर आउट होणार नाही. इट विल नॉट पेरिश. वुडन पार्टिशन असेल किंवा वुडन प्लॅटफॉर्म बिल्ड केला असेल तर तो कदाचित वेअर टेअर होऊन तुटेल, नष्ट होईल. पण इफ इट इज ऑफ अ परमनंट नेचर, इफ यू इरेक्ट अ स्लॅब, when I tell you this, you must remember that by Maharashtra Rent Control Act there are exemptions carved out. किचन ओटा, व्हेंटिलेशन साठी विंडो किंवा फ्लोरिंग टाइल्स हे याच्यामध्ये येत नाहीत. दो दे मे अपियर टू बी परमनंट स्ट्रक्चर. आता किचन ओटा परमनंट स्ट्रक्चर मध्ये येईल या क्रायटेरिया, किंवा विंडो येईल परमनंट स्ट्रक्चर मध्ये. पण स्पेसिफिकली एक्झम्प्टेड आयटम्स आहेत की ज्याच्यामध्ये टेनंटनी वापराच्या सुविधेसाठी या गोष्टी केलेल्या आहेत. So in that case, it will not amount to a permanent construction. Now we turn to the next ground for eviction, which is a ground which is of a much debate, is a reasonable and bona fide requirement. Actually, it was said under the previous act also. It is only the sure shot or most used ground for getting the tenant evicted from the suit premises. 10 मिनिटं राहिलेत शेवटची. Now, under this bona fide requirement, there are two words. It should be a reasonable and bona fide. So landlord's requirement एका पारड्यामध्ये दोन्ही ठेवायचं. टेनंटची फॅमिली एका पारड्यात ठेवायची आणि लँडलॉर्डची फॅमिली एका पारड्यात ठेवायची. नाउ हाऊ मेनी मेंबर्स आर देअर इन द लँडलॉर्ड्स फॅमिली, व्हॉट इज देअर रिक्वायरमेंट, how many members in the family of a tenant, their requirements. Then again, you will have to consider whether the landlord is a bona fide, is a genuinely interested. Because it may happen that the landlord wants the premises to be given for development and earning more profits. Then in those cases, though he has got an abandoned premises with him, if he is having a 5 rooms and family members are only 4, such a landlord's requirement compared to the reasonability will be diminishing, will be less. Whereas bona fides are attacked on the ground most of the time because the landlord has recently received the possession of another tenant, or landlord has got another building constructed, or somewhere flat is booked and possession is taken. In those cases, even if his son has taken the flat, his family member is reduced, and in those cases, this bona fide requirement is also will be a question which can be raised before the court. So reasonable and bona fide requirement of a landlord is an important ground for every tenant. Now sometimes the requirement of the tenant is future. My son or a daughter is taking medical education. My son or daughter will become a doctor and I want the premises to open a clinic in my property, and I am staying in 3 rooms. I want the 2 rooms in the possession of the tenant who is on the ground floor. In those cases, this future requirement is also a requirement of the landlord. Because तुम्ही wording बघितलं तर bona fide and reasonable requirement for the landlord or any person for whom he holds the property, any family member. So it covers this aspect also, and the possession of the premises can be claimed. Now there is a difference of opinion as to when the requirement, or what is the time when the requirement is to be assessed. When I filed the suit, my 2 daughters were there who were unmarried. I had 4 sons and I had only 4 rooms. Now when the suit was first decreed, the daughters were unmarried at that time. But when the appeal was filed, both daughters got married and they went to reside with their husbands. So my family members are reduced. Now I have got 4 family members only. Now whether my requirement should continue up to the end till appeal period or appeal is decided, or whether my requirement is satisfied once when I go to the court, the date, say I went to the court in 2018, first decree is passed in 2019, and after that appeal is pending in 2020, when in the between the members in the family are reduced. Whether the tenant will raise a contention that he will say now the family members are less. So there is no reasonable requirement. So whether this is permissible and whether my requirement must be continuing till the appeal is also continued, or maybe sometimes in High Court. The answer is yes, because you will have to consider his present need. Because in meantime, there a lot of things may happen. Unfortunately, this is against the landlord, but it does happen. That landlord in the initial stage in 2018 was in a dire need of accommodation. By following the process of law of eviction, he doesn't get the accommodation for 1 year. By the time the family reduces, daughters get married. And at the appeal period, when the appeal is pending, the tenant raises this issue. Sometimes it may happen that landlord is allotted a premises in some other scheme where he was at that time requiring the premises for his family, which was large enough. So these are all situations which are to be considered when we consider the ground of reasonable and bona fide requirement. The another, most of the judgments which are set aside or where the issue has come or comes is about hardship, or we call it as a balance of convenience. Now here the court has to frame and decide an issue that whether the tenant will suffer more if he is evicted, or if landlord will suffer if tenant is not evicted. So this balance or hardship is an important issue. So hardship will also be an important factor to be considered by court when the court is deciding the issue or case on the ground that bona fide and reasonable requirement of the landlord. So these are various necessities or requirements under 16G. Now then there are three sections, grounds which can be taken together. These grounds are facilitating or enabling the landlord. Like if the premises are dilapidated, ordered by municipal corporation, demolish it. There is no issue of a requirement of a landlord, no issue of a permanent construction. That is one ground on which the possession can be claimed. The second ground is that there are repairs requiring for some old premises which were let out, like an old building. And those repairs or alterations cannot be carried out unless the entire premises are vacant. For this purpose, also the landlord can ask the possession from the tenant. And thirdly, where the landlord requires the premises for demolition and construction of a new premises. So these three grounds have got a different ramifications, parameters and consequences. Because responsibility is cast upon the landlord in each of these cases. A first and simple case is that if it is required by the municipal authorities to be demolished, the decree is obtained. What happens to the tenant's rights? Question number one, whether he is entitled for alternate accommodation, whether the tenant is entitled after demolition to claim back the possession. Now first, he is not entitled for alternate accommodation. He has no right to claim alternate accommodation once the corporation has ordered and demolished the building. Number two, he cannot claim back the premises. There is no provision under the Maharashtra Rent Control that he should be given back the possession. Now what happens if the new building is constructed or developed, say after 4 or 5 years after demolition? Whether the tenant can say that give me now the possession in the new building. Can he go to the court and ask the court that give me a decree or a direction that landlord should give me the possession of the premises? Again the answer is no. He has no right under the statute. There is no provision made. Now this issue has been dealt in a judgment. I will give the judgment citation, that may be the last. This is 2008, 4 Maharashtra Journal.